leaps and bounds in the places like hostels, campuses of the universities, and technical and professional institutions, where a big number of students are freely using charas, ganja, heroin, smack, or brown sugar. No doubt, drugs has been used by mankind from the very beginning for medical purposes. Nowadays, they are being abused by a young generation. Sometimes, our young boys and girls take drugs and narcotics to alleviate pain, but most of the time to get a thrill at the persuasion of their friends. By and by, they become addicted to this bad habit. In India, their number has been increasing at an alarming rate. This evil must be eradicated at any cost. Public opinion must be created against it, and the different media of mass communication must be pressed to combat this evil.
Now, I would like to call upon Mrs. Nimis Sudhakar, Assistant Professor OB-GYN, Akal College of Nursing, and the organizing secretary for the workshop, Sculpture of Human Character, a CC scholar, a navigator of this flagship of knowledge to deliver the welcome address to our esteemed delegates.
Honorable Babaji, respected Chief Guest, Mr. Major General M.S. Kanda, Guest of Honor, Air Vice Marshal Mr. Manjit Singh, Lieutenant Colonel Devi Dev, guests from overseas, chairpersons and resource persons from India, nurse delegates from various districts of Himachal Pradesh, principals from various colleges of nursing, and learned delegates and from outside Himachal Pradesh. Good morning to all. It is my proud privilege to welcome you all for the pre-conference symposium on substance abuse, de-addiction and workshop on HIV/AIDS. As you all aware, the Akal College of Nursing has been conducting international conference on themes related to the development and innovation in the field of nursing every year. This year too, we are glad to organize the international conference and pre-conference workshop with your participation. I welcome our Vice Chancellor Dr. Daliwal, who supported us for this occasion. I extend my welcome to Dr. Davinder Singh, Registrar, Eternal University, who has supported and encouraged us for the research work in the campus. I welcome our Dean, Dr. Neelam Kaur, who has been guiding I welcome Mrs. Ranjit Kaur, Principal, who has left us no stone unturned to make this symposium and workshop successful. It gives me great pleasure to extend our greetings and welcome to Dr. Manmohan Singh Atwal, former Vice Chancellor of Eternal University. Most importantly, I extend our greetings and welcome to the delegates from Punjab, Haryana, Madhya Pradesh, Chandigarh, Rajasthan, Gujarat, Uttar Pradesh and Jammu and Kashmir who have kindly accepted our invitation to be a part of this symposium and workshop. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Last but not the least, I welcome all the fellow colleagues, students and staff of Akal College of Nursing and Akal College of Health and Allied Sciences who are eagerly looking forward to participate and learn from the symposium and workshop. I, Nimi Sudhakar, Organizing Secretary from Akal College of Nursing, once again welcome one and all to this pre-conference symposium and workshop. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Your thought-providing address has set a perfect platform for our speakers to deliver their presentation in areas of de-addiction, HIV and AIDS. Thank you once again, ma'am. Now I would like to call upon Dr. Davinder Singh, the Secretary, Kalgidar Trust and Registrar Eternal University, to come on stage and say a few words regarding the trust.
His Holiness Honorable Babaji, the spirit behind this humble venture, Chief Guest of the Day, General Condal, distinguished guest, Air Vice Marshal Manjeet Singh Ji, Dr. Manmohan Singh Ji, former Vice Chancellor of Eternal University, and our member and associate and patron for the last 3 decades, members of the faculty, distinguished principals, educationists, health professionals from various parts of the country. In particular, Professor Pandey, who has come all the way from Lucknow to be here with us. Guests, ladies and gentlemen, and above all, young budding nurses, I am delighted to welcome you all on this occasion. Those of you who would be coming here for the first time must be wondering how and why on this, at this remote place has this enormous structure come up, and what all is happening here. Well, our history dates back to almost 110 years. It was in 1906 that one of the greatest saints of this eon, Sant Atar Singh Ji, he is the one. He had envisioned that a place exists in the Himalayas from where children with the best of scientific and spiritual education would move out into the world and spread the message of peace and spiritual brotherhood to the world. His disciple, Sant Teja Singh Ji, who had his education from Harvard too in 1904, he discovered this place in 1956 by his divine vision that this was a place which Sant Atar Singh Ji had alluded to. Sant Atar Singh Ji himself he did not have any formal education, whereas his disciple Sant Teja Singh Ji was highly educated. He had topped all university exams, board exams, starting from metric till masters and then law. And then finally he had joined the civil services at that time in the early 19th century, in the late 19th century, around 1896. Although Sant Atar Singh Ji was himself not educated in the conventional sense, but such was the regard with which he was taken, such was the regard with which he was given, such was his enormous stature, that when Pandit Madan Mohan Malviya wanted to start the Banaras Hindu University, he was looking for a saint to lay the foundation stone. And he finally zeroed on Sant Atar Singh Ji and came all the way from Banaras to Sonam, where he alighted from the train, left his slippers on the station, went barefoot 20 kilometers to the village Chima and requested Sant Atar Singh Ji to lay the foundation stone of Banaras Hindu University. Therefore, ladies and gentlemen, our foundation as an educational institution was laid way back in 1906. And finally, the land was procured in 1956 when the nearest roadhead was Nahan, 80 kilometers to the south, and Solan, almost 70 kilometers to the north. So if to reach here one had to get down that Solan and then walk or come on a mule back. But Sant Teja Singh Ji said that at this divine place for many centuries, many eons, lot of meditation and tapasya has been done. This was a pious land. So this was the land which was destined to blossom into that valley of divine peace. In 1986, Baba Akal Singh Ji, after his innings with the Himachal government as Director Agriculture Himachal Pradesh, he came here. He started a small school with 5 children, and now that school has grown into a massive organization with 50,000 students studying in 6 North Indian states in various schools, colleges, and universities. Ladies and gentlemen, today we have gathered here to deliberate on a very important burning issue. It's an extremely challenging one too. Despite some semblance of legislations, in the complete absence of political will, the problem of handling this huge problem of drug addiction, particularly in North India, only the ones who are trying to grapple with it realize how difficult it has become. I remember Colonel Rajinder Singh Ji telling us that right in front of the de-addiction center which the trust has established at Chima, a liquor van was auctioned and it opened right in front of the door of the de-addiction center. Now it was a challenging thing to get that removed from there. He wrote a letter petition to the High Court. Justice Ranjit Singh Ji was kind enough to take up the petition and issued orders to remove the liquor van. Those orders went completely unheeded. So Dr. Saab had to approach the Honorable Court once again, and an amicus curiae had to be appointed to finally get that liquor van removed from there. The reason for this was that the owner of the liquor van was being given political patronage by a very important leader of the area, a political leader who was also a member of the parliament. We at the Calcutta Trust are trying to look at this problem in another way. So one way by which we can handle this problem is to treat the patients who are affected, which is extremely difficult to do. The second is to ensure that new people do not take up this habit. Well, we have decided that we will fight the illness at both the levels. We are establishing de-addiction centers. One we have already had at Chima, 3 more are in the pipeline. And in addition, we are opening up schools all over North India. We have established 130 schools where children are being imparted value-based education. And these children, I am glad to say that any child who has passed out from our school till now, we have not come across a single case where a child has taken to drugs. We did not have the resources to establish these schools. Honorable Babaji, he had 2 options. One, to grow at a small pace at whatever donations we could collect. But then we realized that the pace at which the youth is being destroyed, the pace at which they were taken to drugs was very fast, and the pace at which we were opening schools was just not catching up with it. Therefore, the trust decided to take a loan from the bank. We have taken a loan of more than 100 crores to establish schools in these rural areas to ensure that these children who are the coming children, the next generation at least, is safe from this scourge of drug abuse. Ladies and gentlemen, this is but a small contribution. We have until now been able to cover just about 50% of the Punjab villages where we are providing opportunity to children to join our schools, and in some way stay protected from this menace. It's a long road ahead. We need your blessings. We need your support so that we are able to achieve the target of establishing 500 schools and hope that children who pass out from these schools are enriched, they are trained, they are spiritually enlightened, and they not only stay away from the drugs themselves, but also ensure that all around them, their relatives, their friends also do not take up this serious problem. With these few words, I once again welcome you all to this Valley of Divine Peace and hope that the deliberations that happen today, they come out with solutions to this problem, and this world becomes a better place for the future generations. Thank you very much, please.
Thank you, sir, for your influential message. Now, I would like to invite our chief guest. Now, I would like to invite our chief guest, Major General M.S. Khandal, Mr. Adrian Manjeet Singh, and Dr. Abdal sir, the member of Managing Board Forgiver Trust and founding Vice Chancellor of Eternal University for the flag lighting ceremony. I would also request all the dignitaries to join the lamp lighting ceremony. Thank you, sir.
I feel privileged to have such a distinguished chief guest, Major General M.S. Kandal, among us. Major General M.S. Kandal needs no introduction, having spent valuable years in operational and counterinsurgency areas. I may be permitted to give a brief introduction about his accomplishments, academic attainments, and his choosing fields. Major General M.S. Kandal, chairperson of SAS Free Polyclinic Trust since its inception in 2002, and his MSc in Defense Studies, PGD in Business Management and Marketing. He was the head of faculty member in Defense Services Staff College, Wellington, and War College, Baghdad. He was commissioned on 7th June 1953 into the Corps of Engineers. During over 35 years of service, he held various prestigious command and staff appointments both within the country and abroad. He also took active part in both the 1965 and 1971 wars and has rendered services in most operational and counter-insurgency areas. He sought premature retirement in 1988 and joined a multinational construction company in Jordan as executive director. He is a social worker, philanthropist, and a homeopath. He is a trustee of Hamari Amanat Trust that provides education to girls from poor families as boarders in a public school of repute and has been a member of UT Administrators Advisory Council and an ex-member of State Council of Senior Citizens, a patron of Sunerigaon Society and advisor to Asian Education Society and INPS Society. Sir is a keen sportsman and has played almost every game. He is a silver medalist of Royal Life Saving Society and has presented the Indian Military Academy in the National Shooting Championship. Ladies and gentlemen, we rarely get this opportunity to listen to the words of such a great personality. It's my honor to invite the Honorable Major General M.S. Kandal to address us all on this present.
Respected Babaji, he is not physically present, but I can feel his presence in you all. I think the staff, members of this holy university reflect his personality. Dr. Devinder Singh ji, Dr. Neelam ji, my friend Marshal Manjeet Singh ji, and I had the privilege of meeting another very holy person, Dr. Manmohan Singh ji. There are so many names I would like to say, but I think we are already very late. You will forgive me, I'll just say the other very eminent guests, delegates, members of the faculty, and dear children, the students, the future of our country. It's indeed a great pleasure and honor for a very humble Sevadar. It was given out lot many things she read out, but I know I am only a nimat of the doer. All of us are the nimat. Kita karna sarb rajai, kich kiche je kar sakiye. Everything is done. I can see it here. Listening to Dr. Devinder Singh ji, how this whole thing came up. It is not a human being doing. It is the Akal Purakh. It is his doing. We all, for the sake of say that so and so did it, I did it, he did it. But I think in our heart of heart we all know हम आदमी हैं एक दमी मोहलत मोहत न जाना. We are capable of doing nothing. It is His blessings, His grace, His benevolence that we are able to do something. I like to thank him for giving me this opportunity and also thank his nimats to give me this opportunity to visit this holy place. There was intention to visit this place many times, but it had to be happen now. It is really, to me, it is ziyarat. It is pilgrimage. To come and meet you all and to seek the blessings. I would call him a living saint, Babaji. Whatever what we are doing, that is also, we call it worship with the difference. I think all this is worship with the difference. यही पूजा है, यही बंदगी है. Now, I don't think I need to talk much about what is going to be done. A lot has been said. Suffice to say that there is a flood of substance abuse in the country. And in Punjab I would call it not flood but tsunami. In our day-to-day service to the poor and the needy, we get an opportunity to go to various villages and slum areas. We've got a mobile dispensary also, besides people coming for 5 days OPD to the trust. And those 4 days when we go to the villages and slum areas, people come, and primarily it is the ladies, mothers, sisters, daughters, who come and cry about their husbands, brothers, sons getting involved in drugs. It is a tsunami as far as Punjab is concerned. When you go and visit the villages, I remember when I was a young man in village Asabutar, where my mother took me for Tiyan, that was in 38, 39, you saw ਚਿਹਰਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਲਾਲੀ ਦਗ ਦਗ ਕਰਦੀ ਕੁੜੀਆਂ ਮੁੰਡਿਆਂ ਤੇ ਅੱਜਕੱਲ ਨਜ਼ਰ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਆਉਂਦੀ because they are all indulging in wrong things. This is, I would also say, it is primarily due to the time. As we all know, this is Kal Yug. And Kal Yug at its peak, we have been hearing for a long time, परलो आएगी 12 को तो दीवा जलेगा. The Muslims have been saying क़यामत के रोज मुर्दे उठेंगे, and Christians have been saying on the doomsday the dead will rise. That is not very far. It is going to happen very soon. Why? Because it is the word Brahma. दिन के बाद रात होती है, रात के बाद दिन होता है, हर साल सारे मौसम आते हैं. Everything is dynamic. सूरज निकलता है, छुप जाता है, चांद आता है. There is nothing which is not dynamic. The whole, this Srishti and the whole world drama is totally dynamic. So we have been hearing of Satyug, Treta, Dwapar, Kal Yug, and now the Satyug has to come. And how will it come? It will come only when the Kal Yug meets its end, and that end has to be in a vinash. Why? Because we've been also hearing कि 12 कोस पे दीवा जलेगा, and also we say in our Udas, Raj karega Khalsa. That Khalsa is the pure. The pure souls will be left, and that is what you will see at various long distances. There will be very small population, and again the whole cycle, the word cycle will start. And who are these holy souls? They are being bred in place like this. This is where one sees the future of Satyug, the souls of Satyug. You people, young children, are very lucky to be here. Very lucky. Since I have come here, I have been feeling the holy vibrations. I am getting a little emotional. I don't know why the Lord delayed my coming here. I wish I had come here earlier. It's a wonderful place. Meeting everybody, going around. This time, because of the time constraints, I can only have the bird's eye view. Hopefully, next time he gives me an opportunity, I'll come with my better half, who's also an educationist. By the way, I joined army running away from education. I was I'm taking your time. I was a scholarship holder in primary. I missed my scholarship in vernacular final. I missed my first division in my matric. I got 509 marks. Those days it used to be 510 for first class, first division. I missed my second division by 1 mark. It is a coincidence of very strange coincidence. I was in BSc final. I was quite a Kadaru. I played almost all games. They came naturally to me. I thought if I appear for BSc final, I'll fail the record that was going. So I took up to army. I was the first one from my family. I ran away from studies, joined army. I thought I'll go and play there and enjoy my life. My age was written 2 years younger. When my younger sister was born, my grandfather went and registered my name. So it was 2 years younger. My class fellows went to the IMA and I had to go to inter-services wing. So I was, my own batchmates, I was junior to them by 2 years. Here also I joined at the maximum age of inter-services wing. So I was the Buddha of the lot. There, being an older man, as compared to my colleagues by 2 years, Sharmo Sharmi, I had to work hard. I had again to study because everybody, my friends started, they were all without beard, I had beard. When I joined inter-service wing, they were calling me Babaji. So I had to work hard and live up to being Babaji, senior to them. I did well, and my instructors thought that I am fit to be an officer in the Corps of Engineers, that is the combat engineers. So I was pushed into engineers, much against my wishes. There again, I found that I was older by 2 years to my colleagues. I did well. That is how the sin service is carried on. Till I reached towards the end, now I was, by age, in spite of having written 2 years younger, was much older to the colleagues. So then I took premature and went as executive director of a multinational. You can plan what you like, but hota wahi hai jo manzoor khuda hota hai. Besides taking part in the war as a combat engineer and in counter-insurgency areas, I was teaching. I was instructor in College of Military Engineering. I became head of the Faculty of Combat Engineering. I taught in Staff College. I taught abroad in Baghdad in War College. So it is strange. It only makes you humble and realize that you are nothing. It is only He who does it. Now, as far as this, I told you, the Zawal has to come. That was the darker side. It has to come. But the brighter side is the Satyug will come. And one sees this particular problem. The darker side has been told, the brighter side is here. Seeing all of you doing so much to mitigate this burning problem, especially our Kalgidhar De-Addiction Center And I am thankful to Dr. Rajinder Singh ji and Dr. Surinder Sethi that they have given me the privilege of co-opting them in what single window service we are doing for the poor and the needy. Why I say single window service? Because these are, what we are doing is a socio-medical camps. That means it is all the medical side I take for each camp. We organize about 12 to 14 camps in a year for various slum areas, villages, colonies, only to service the poor and the needy. We take one major hospital, Garewal's Eye Institute, a dental team, PGI's mammography vehicle for mammography and pap smear test, a homeopathic mobile dispensary of our trust. There are people who are just joining. We started with one day OPD, today it is 5 days OPD a week and 4 days mobile dispensary to the villages in a week. People have, we are now about 15 doctors. They are all doing philanthropy. Everyone is above 70 years of age. We have got retired Director Medical Health Services Punjab, and they all rang up, General Sahab, we want to join your team. So it is not this person doing something, he has been sending. And now we have got the Kalgidar De-Addiction Center also with us. They have been always, they are already taken part in 4 of our camps. And in these camps, we are doing, taking blood pressure, blood sugar of everybody, because these are silent killers, are not known to these people whether they are suffering from it or not, besides other things. And we have been also organizing special talk by Dr. Surinda to the villagers. It is just a start, and I am very glad and very thankful to them to join us in this worship with the difference. I end by a share which is applicable to all those who are doing service. Ya Khuda, ये जिंदगी तूने ही बख्शी है मुझे, या खुदा ये जिंदगी तूने ही बख्शी है मुझे, अब मुझे तौफीक दे तेरे बंदों की खिदमत कर सकूं. That is what is our prayer, that is what we want to do day in and day out, and we seek your blessings to make us carry on with this. Thank you very much. God's blessings to all of you. And thank you for bearing with me for a long time. God's choicest blessings upon all.
Thank you, sir, for your words of wisdom. It will be a great pleasure for us to listen to you again in our future events. Now let us have the pleasure of listening to the opening remarks of our honorable guest of honor, Mr. A.B.M. Manjeet Singh. A.B.M. Manjeet Singh graduated from IIT Kharagpur in 1957. He is a retired Air Vice Marshal and has served Air Force for 33 years. He is a student of subject of consciousness and has written 3 books that are Echo of Silence, The Beauty of Being, and Come Fly With Me, and is also the co-author of the book God in Silence. I consider it a great honor to welcome Mr. A.B.M. Manjeet Singh for the opening and welcoming remarks.
ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ। ਜਨਰਲ ਕਰਨਲ Colonel Rajinder Singh, members of the faculty here, and the students. I feel privileged to be standing in front of you and let me say have a darshan of some excellent people who are rendering service at this marvelous place of education with a totally unique style of education. Looking forward to sending out young people to Punjab, Haryana, Himachal and all these places who will set a new standard of integrity in the public. Young people who will be a source of inspiration to all their people who surround them. I am feeling overwhelmed by the presence of so many dignified people here. And since we are already a bit late, thank you so much. All the best.
Thank you, sir, for your influential message. We are charmed by your sharp fluency. The aim of education is the knowledge, not of the facts, but of values. It is not a teaching like this we get opportunity to test our knowledge and understanding. We look forward to getting exposure about what best of the brains think about this dynamic issue of substance abuse and de-addiction. Without taking much of your time, permit us to start the program. Ladies and gentlemen, may I now request Ms. Vidhi to introduce the chairperson for our first session.
The first chairperson for this session is Dr. Anil Gupta. Dr. Anil Gupta Dr. Anil Gupta, MA in Psychology from DPSW Ranchi and has done PhD in Psychology from Indira Gandhi Medical College, Shimla. He is a retired clinical psychologist from IGMC Shimla and has a clinical experience of about 32 years. At present, he is working as an associate professor in Eternal University, Badu Sahib since last 6 years. The second chairperson is Dr. H.S. Chauhan. Sir has a great academic record and is the owner of various degrees and diplomas. He has done his MBBS and DOMS from Government Medical College, Rohtak. He has done MD in Community Medicines, Preventive and Social Medicines, Master MP HCM Super Specialty in Health Management, Planning and Policy, Diploma in Population Education, PhD in Community Medicine, Epidemiology and Surveillance, PTC in Health Management, Public Health and Health Sector Reforms, MBA in Healthcare Services, MSc in Public Health and MSc in Hospital Administration. At present, he is working as a professor and head of Epidemiology and Community Medicines and Dean of Akal School of Public Health and Hospital Administration in Eternal University, Badu Sahib. May I request Dr. Anil Gupta and Dr. H.S. Chauhan to please join us on the stage. Now I request Ms. Gurjeevan Kaur to introduce the resource persons for the symposium.
Ladies and gentlemen, we rarely get this kind of opportunity to listen to the words of great knowledgeable speakers. I'm talking about our first person, Dr. Ish Mandala. Dr. Ish Dhara is Senior Resident in Drug De-Addiction and Treatment Center, Psychiatry Department, PGI MER, Chandigarh. He has done MBBS and MD in Psychiatry and has worked as a Junior Resident at Rajendra Hospital, Patiala for 4 years. He has given us thesis on quality of life, disability, family burden among patients of obsessive compulsive disorder, and attended various national conferences and has given many paper presentations. His two papers are accepted for the publications. Now I would like to welcome Dr. Ish Kumar Dhalla on the stage to add beauty in sensation and to add his expertise. I invite Dr. Ish Kumar Dhalla on the stage to address the gathering on drug de-addiction in Punjab. Excuse me, the program is being live webcasted and you can watch it live on YouTube on Akal College of Nursing Badu Sahib for opening nursing conference. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Myself, Dr. Ish Kumar. I'm a senior resident at Drug De-Addiction and Treatment Center at PGI Chandigarh. And I'm going to give my talk on drug addiction in Punjab and overview. So the outline of my talk will be like introduction, epidemiology, types of substances, and a bit about management. Starting with the introduction, well, Punjab is located in the northwest region of India, and it has been the oldest and the richest cultures in the world history. Some of the main areas it includes poetry, philosophy, dance, music, architecture, artistry, languages, and traditional and values. It has been the land of great gurus which pride itself with monuments of ancient times and historical embodiments. Post Green Revolution, Punjab had earned the distinction of being called the Granary of India. Only a decade ago, it was heralded as one of the country's crown jewels. Now, however, the success story of Punjab's economy has seemingly come to an end. What was once the fastest growing state in the country is now one of the India's slowest. What is the reason? Now let's see Punjab's journey. Well, in pre-independence era, Punjab was basically a rural and a close-knit society. During the 50s and the 70s, during the era of prosperity, there was green revolution in rural areas, migration towards the urban areas, and development of infrastructure. With further in the coming 80s, there was loss of green revolution, paradigm shift towards career towards government sector and defenses. With further growth of larger cities and towns, growing aspirations and ambitions resulted in population migration towards west. In 80s, there was breakup of family from a joint family to nuclear family, corruption in society, criminalization in politics, and a blow of militancy resulted in a directionless youth and unemployment leading to frustration among them and making them susceptible to drug use. The other factors which contributed to drug use are the first is geographically. Now I would like to discuss about the heroin and the golden crescent. Now this is the as you can see our country India. It's situated between the two golden. One is the golden crescent and the golden triangle. The golden crescent include the countries like Iran, Afghanistan, and Pakistan, and the golden triangle include countries like Vietnam, Thailand, and Burma. Now these are the countries where there is illegal cultivation of opium and heroin production. And India, as you can see, according to a report, 80% of all the heroin and the most dangerous of narcotics is routed through India. And why this is important? Because as you can see here, it is because the border of Punjab it lies west to Pakistan, southwest to Rajasthan, east to Haryana, and in the east is the Himachal, and above is Jammu Kashmir. So all the heroin production or heroin, opium, poppy, husk, it is routed through India or the Punjab area. From the west to the border it passes from Pakistan or from POK from Jammu Kashmir, cannabis from Himachal, goes through all through the Punjab, then to Delhi, and then to the whole of the India. Now various methods used are like catapulting or throwing small packets of around 3 kgs across the barbed wire, pushing plastic pipes as you can see from here, plastic pipes between the barbed wires, flowing of water of rivers, good train carrying cement into India or buses or trucking carries goods. The other factors which are contributing is the curiosity and the peer group influence and the festivities as Punjabi psyche has been like energetic and free minded and like looking for very curious about using substances. Then myths related to physical and mental alertness that drug use can lead to physical increase in the physical health and mental alertness, but it's the opposite of them. Easy availability of drugs to multiple sources like from peddlers, suppliers, chemist shop, even these days pan, cigarette shop, even the rickshaw walas are supplying drugs. Now, let's see the history of drug use in Punjab. Traditionally, historically, alcohol, cannabis, and opium, like caffeine, tobacco was the main drugs. In 60s and 70s, there came a time when synthetic and semi-synthetic opioids came, more like morphine, pethidine, pentazocine. Then in 80s, there was introduction of heroin in the market. 80s and 90s came buprenorphine, then other synthetic drugs like dextromethorphan, codeine-containing cough syrups. Then 90s onward, there was huge rise in the injecting drug use, which was a major problem. Now the emerging drugs which in 2000s are the cocaine, club and rape drugs, amphetamines and ATS, which are the amphetamines type stimulants. Now, I would like to give a few lines about injecting drugs. It has been a major growing concern. The significant adverse effects have been the HIV, hepatitis, TB, and other skin tissue infections. The main drugs which are injected are heroin, propoxyphene, buprenorphine alone, or in combination with antihistaminics like Avil, sedatives like diazepam, other injectable opioids like morphine, pethidine, pentazocine, given by the full name of fortwin, diazepam, promethazine, chlorpheniramine. Now these are the drugs which are injected and has caused much harm to the youth of the Punjab. Now, next topic is I would like to discuss a bit about the epidemiology of addiction in Punjab. This is a slide showing the substance abuse in India. There haven't been much studies in Punjab, but this is the National Household Survey data of 2004 showing the overall abuse of drugs in India. It's showing alcohol in 21%, cannabis 3%, opium 0.7%, and other drugs like 3.6%. But there have been a bit studies in Punjab done in various cities, in various districts of Punjab. This is one of the study done in government Medical College Patiala. It was an epidemiological survey of alcohol and drug dependence in Chajli village of district Sangrur in Punjab. The sample size was of around 900 people. The prevalence, the studies, results of the studies were the prevalence of single substance dependence was around 18%, and the most common type of substance was alcohol, 11 population. One was tobacco, followed by opium, which included bhukki and afim. This was two substances. The prevalence was 5%, around 5% for two substances, and around 1% for three substances. Another alcohol was among single substance users. Alcohol was the most common substance, and around 27% of population. Second most common, again I said, is tobacco, and among opium whiskey was the most common substance used. In another study done in Amritsar for the prevalence of alcohol users, it found that the prevalence of alcohol consumption was around 25% in urban and 60% in the rural population. And more than three-fourths of these urban, around 88% as well as in rural, around 83% were consuming alcohol daily. So you can see the result. But all these studies have been around 7 or 8 years back. The new data is not, it's still in the verge of coming. It hasn't come yet. There was a study done in Chandigarh, like prevalence of alcohol and drug dependence in urban and rural population of Chandigarh by GMCH 32, and they found that around in 1500 people, they found that around out of which 58 were the substance users, and out of that 47 were the totally dependent substance users, and in urban population of around 180 or 190, around 159 were the total substance users. And little bit about the IDUs. This is a drug abuse monitoring data, which is all the survey done in AIMS, and 14% of the treatment seekers were the IDUs, and around I would say that estimated around 1.1 million IDUs are presently in India, but this data is again a decade-old data. The new data is still coming. This was a study done in AIMS in around 2008, and it shows that the prevalence of IDUs in various cities of Punjab and Haryana. So you can see that around the prevalence rate is around 0.404 to 0.1% in most of the cities. In like Patiala, there's 0.1%, and in Chandigarh and Panchkula, there's 0.55%. So I can say that it's 0.04 to 0.1%, and this rate is increasing. Now I would like to discuss a bit about the types of substance use. As you can see, what is there in the bottles? It's not certainly water. This is alcohol. You should know that as a student, you should know the alcohol content in various beverages which normally are present in the market. The highest alcohol content is in the brandy, whiskey, rum, vodka. It's around 42%. Then in wines, it is around 12%. Beer contains around 4 to 8%, and country liquor, it's variable, can be 6 to 96%. Now, what is a standard alcohol drink? It is almost containing 12 to 14 grams of ethanol. And one small drink is equivalent to 30 ml. I can see the people laughing, and most of them already know what I'm saying. So, one standard drink is equal to, can say, the one glass of table wine, half a bottle of standard beer, 1/4 bottle of strong beer, or one pack of Indian-made foreign liquor. Now, according to Motor Vehicle Act of India, around 30 milligram in blood alcohol concentration, there is no offense, and above 30 milligram per 100 ml, there are punishments. You can see the punishments is about 6 months imprisonment to around 2,000 fine, and the maximum can be around 3 years imprisonment. So coming on to the next substance, can you name the plant? What plant is this? It's a poppy plant. Now, the opioid, it refers naturally occurring opiates and other semi-synthetic compounds derived from this plant, Papaver somniferum. You can see the poppy seeds of this plant. They are obtained from the opium poppy, and they are also called as khaskhas, which is used in cooking. Now, after removal of the capsule and the pod, this is dried and crushed, and the substance which is obtained is bhukki, and the latex of the poppy plant. This latex, which is dried and turns into a black solid mass called a pheme. And you can see this photo showing the powdered form is the bhukki form. It contains 0.1% of morphine, and this is the paste form, bit blackish. A pheme, it contains around 10% of morphine. Now, now these are the synthetic opioids which are produced in the market in the factories. These are the capsules, capsule Pavan Spas and Spasmoproxivin, also used by the drug users with the name of Neela capsule. And it contains around the salt, the opioid salt, that is dextropropoxyphene, around 65 mg, which is highly addictive salt. Now this is the white powder, again a semi-synthetic powder. It's called heroin, and the white crystalline form is diacetyl morphine hydrochloride. Though when supplied illegally, it is often adulterated, maybe off-white or brown, and then it's known as smack or brown sugar. The other types of opioids. This is the way the heroin is used there in the drug addicts. It's through the IV route or by chasing on a foil paper. You can see that this person has smoked put heroin here, and the smoke is chasing the smoke of heroin. And this is the tablet, another synthetic opioid, Lomotil. It contains this diphenoxylate of 2.5 mg and atropine. It's a opioid agonist which is used for the treatment of diarrhea, but its use is more common in the more inner cities of Punjab, and the people take 100 to around 4 to 500 tablets in one single intake. This is also commonly used. Rescoff must be knowing about this. Rescoff and also was come in the name of Corex or Fancy in the market, and it contains a highly addictive substance, the codeine, 10 milligram of codeine in 100 ml bottle, and along with combination of antihistaminics. Now this is the next plant. Can you identify the plant? It's cannabis. It's a cannabis plant, cannabis sativa, and the compound present in the cannabis is the tetrahydrocannabinol, which is the main primary responsible for the psychoactive effects of cannabis. The resinous exudate from the stem contains most of the active ingredient called hashish or charas, and it is the most potent form of cannabis, around 10 to 20% of tetrahydrocannabinol. The dried leaves or the paste of leaves are called bhang, and the dried flowering top of the plant is called ganja. It is smoked through the hand rolled cigarettes, smoked using water pipe. Now, cannabis smokers, they typically inhale deeply and hold their breath to maximize the absorption of THC by lungs. And it has harmful effects. It can cause various mood disorders and also can induce psychosis in patients. Its use can also be in the drink and milk-based drink, which are commonly used in the Holi and Shivratri times. And in some states like Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh, where government authorized shops are present, where you can get various specialties of bhang in the form of lassi and sweets and cakes. Now, can you name this plant? It's a tobacco plant. It is legally used. Tobacco is legally used throughout the world, and addiction occurs due to the chemical called nicotine, used as cigarettes, bidi, cigar, pan, and gutka. Well, there is a saying that I like this slide so much that I have put it in my seminar. It's some commit suicide by hanging, and others do it by smoking. Coming on to the next substance, it's the sedative drugs. They are basically barbiturates and benzodiazepines, and more commonly abused drugs are alprazolam, diazepam, and nitrazepam. Comes with the names of tablet number 10. Nitrazepam is 10 number ki goli de do. And also present in the market, alprazolam or even lorazepam these days is abused with the name of 82. This is the next substance is again the white powder form. It's a highly addictive, highly powerful stimulant called cocaine. It's derived from the cocoa plant, and it's mostly snorted, injected, or cooked down into a compound that can be called a freebase or a crack cocaine. This is a picture showing the snorting as seen in the many movies. People taking cocaine in this way, snorting of cocaine. Other drugs can be hallucinogens. Hallucinogens among them is LSD, lysergic acid diethylamide. The in oral tablet form is the most potent form of hallucinogen. It can produce perceptual disturbances, can induce hallucinations. Again, psychosis and mood disorders are very common in these patients. Can you tell what this person is sniffing? These are the volatile substances which are very common among the, especially in the adolescent age group, very common. The substances which are these substances are sniffed or bagged usually through rebreathing from a bag, usually volatile hydrocarbons or petroleum products, and these include glue, petrol, paint thinners, typewriter correction fluids, which are very commonly sniffed. These substances, these are highly addictive and they can cause disorientation, ataxia, and slurring of speech. Sudden deaths have occurred on the first occasion. Now, what this substance is, what is needed for bodybuilding? This is very common among the bodybuilders. Steroids. These steroids, these are synthetic substances and which promote the growth of skeletal muscles and the development of male sexual characteristics. Now, these are often sold at gyms and sports competition illegally, and these are available as injections, pills, or in powder form. The adverse effects include in males it can cause sterility, females it can cause masculinization of female characters, it can cause mood changes, again psychosis. These are harmful substances. Now, these are the emerging substances which are emerging in the market these days. These are ATS substances, amphetamine type substances, and these include the methamphetamine pill, powder, dextroamphetamines, and methylphenidate. These are present in the market with the names of ice, speed. You can see they are present in the pill form, the powder form, and the ice crystals. Now, these methamphetamines, they have really negative effects on the whole system. You can say that on every system they have effects. These are the new psychoactive substances. These, the UNODC has used this term as new psychoactive substances because these are not controlled by the single convention on the narcotic drugs, and they can cause public health threats. And these are known in the markets by the terms of designer drugs, legal highs, herbal highs, bath salts, or synthetic cannabinoids. Now, these herbal highs and party pills, they are purely psychoactive drugs and they have effects similar to amphetamines. And they are available in pills and small bottles of liquid. And some of the NPS users have been frequently hospitalized with severe intoxications, even has increased the mortality rates among them. And there have been studies where there have been unexplained suicides associated with use of synthetic cannabinoids. So these are harmful drugs, and data among them is coming from various studies. Now, what are the consequences of drug use? Now, these were all the types of substances. What are the consequences? Now, consequences can be related to health, can increase the mortality, morbidity. Among family members can lead to fight, neglect, breakup of the family, loss of trust, separation, divorce. socially it can create stigma and isolation among the drug addicts. Then occupational, it can lead to absenteeism, reduced trust, loss of job, legal fights, accidents, crimes, financial issues can be there. Now, how can we manage? I will tell a bit about the management as this is not my part of my seminar, but I still thought that I should tell about the management part a bit. Management includes the supply reduction, overall management. It includes the supply reduction, demand reduction, and harm reduction. You can see supply and demand reduction are the primary preventions. We can prevent the abuse of drug. And harm reduction means the secondary and the tertiary preventions. Our supply reduction strategies include the supply to disruption of the supply and availability of drugs. Demand reduction strategies include aims to reduce the desire to use drug to prevent and reduce or delay the initiation of drugs. And harm reduction strategies include to reduce the negative impact of drug and drug related activities on individuals and on society. Now, supply reduction strategy is different for illicit and illicit substances. For illicit substances like alcohol and tobacco, measures include price control. Like recently, government has increased the taxes on cigarettes. So one of the example is this. Then controls on the availability of substance through minimum age limits, limiting the hours and days of sales, uh, enforcement of retail controls, restriction on the import of the substance, control on the use of alcohol and tobacco, like at specified places and during specified activities, and control on marketing and product safety standards. Strategies for demand induction include building awareness and educating people through press, television, radio, various public meetings, workshops, posters, painting competition, organizing drug-free events, and again networking with NGOs, schools, colleges, providing a healthy drug-free society, yoga and meditation. Coming to the secondary and the tertiary prevention, it includes the treatment part. The immediate goals of treatment include the detoxification, which can be done by inpatient and outpatient at various de-addiction centers. Short-term goals include the management of other medical and the psychiatric illnesses, the reintegration of the patient with the family. Long-term goals are like prevention of, first is the prevention of relapse and reintegration of the patient into the society, occupational rehabilitation so that they remain occupied with the work, improvement of their overall quality of life. And the treatment part include both pharmacotherapy and the psychotherapy. And I consider pharmacotherapy with psychotherapy as the best method as it motivates the addict to start treatment and also prevent relapse. I will discuss a bit about the psychosocial intervention. It's basically the purpose is it is aimed at motivating an individual to seek treatment for drug use and improving their retention and compliance to the therapy. It can be delivered individually or in groups. It can be delivered by therapists or by peer groups. Now, the question is how to motivate an individual to change behavior. It can be done by the following strategies or technique like feedback, decision balancing, developing insight, supporting self-efficacy. Feedback can be anything like personalized feedback of following negative consequences of substance use to help in the individual in taking decisions in favor of change. It can be related to health, occupational, or financial and legal. And examples can be from the patient's life only, like accidents, arrests, absenteeism from work, medical investigation findings, fight with loss of respect and neglect of role. And second is decision balancing. This is to make an individual enable the benefits of change with benefits of staying with the same and comparing the cost of staying the same and take decision whether to change or stay same. This is important because we have to tell them about the benefits of change and if they stay the same, what are the consequences and let them to a decision. And other part of motivating is developing insight in them. Enable the patient to compare his quality of life with his non-user friend or relatives and help him to think where he wanted to be. Now, this is not just a process like a 1 week or a 10 days process. It's a time, the duration required is much more. It's like 6 months or it's more than that can be required to, you have to work with the patient for this. And supporting self-efficacy in them, telling them that the goal is achievable and you can do it. It makes the patient believe that they can do it. Then after the discharge from the hospitals or in the environment, the previous environment they are going, the network referral pathways and networking is very important, where the detox centers and other ART centers like ARTs and ICTC dots, emergency services, and other networks like NGOs, youth clubs, trusts, the self-help groups like Alcohol Anonymous and Narcotic Anonymous. All these can form a network and keep these patients, keep an eye on them so that they can be brought back if there is an issue of relapse or whether they have any problem in the society. It's important. I would like to discuss a bit about the harm reduction, the principles of harm minimization. The treatment focus is on reducing the use, reducing the risk of infectious disease, reducing the criminal behavior, improving their social functioning without necessarily ceasing drug use. And it is done in those patients where the person is not willing to leave to quit drugs. The harm strategies, reduction strategies include educational interventions like how to reduce risk, safer methods of drug use, needle syringe exchange programs. Well, these have reduced the HIV prevalence in the country between the IDUs, especially as to their non-injected sexual partners. And for this, the NACO has started various programs in the country with the opioid substitution therapy programs. It has been started in various medical colleges and has included a comprehensive package of services to injecting drug users, where there is substitution of an injecting opioid with the oral medication that effectively minimizes craving and withdrawal, and thereby enables them, IDUs, to stop injecting drugs. So this has been started with the purpose of reducing the risk of HIV, HCV, and hepatitis B in them. Now, to conclude, Punjab's biggest and the best resource has been its human resource. We have to nurture and empower it. And for if this resource is destroyed, then Punjab will be a history. Though throughout history, Punjab has faced its challenges, its invaders, and yet survived and prospered. So let us give tomorrow a chance. Thank you.
Hello. Thank you, Dr. Ish Kumar. You have given us very valuable suggestions, insights on drug addiction in our state of Punjab. I'm sure your address will help a lot in understanding the issues and causes and for management of the problems. So we'll take on that. Thank you. Thank you very much
Thank
again. So next, should we take it at the end or should we? Yeah, that's right. So we'll be taking Dr. Ish Kumar, the question session at the end of the speakers. Okay. So next, our distinguished honor to us with the presence of Dr. Colonel Rajinder Singh. Next resource person is there with us. Colonel Saab is working as consultant psychiatrist in charge of Drug Addiction Center, Chima Sahib, District Sangrur in Punjab, Kalgidhar Trust. A brief profile of his career journey is like this. After MBBS, he worked as senior house surgeon at Patiala Rajendra Hospital, Medical College for a year. He served for 5 years in Punjab State Medical Services till 1963. He has done MD in Psychiatry from PGI MER Chandigarh. and has served as psychiatrist in psychiatry, as specialist and senior advisor in psychiatry at various places including Command Hospital, Lucknow, Chandigarh, Calcutta, Harmi Hospital, Delhi. Kanal Saab has presented research papers in various psychiatry conferences and published more than 30 papers in national and international journals. He has also edited a book, Drug Addiction, published in 2012. Many of us have seen that there on the reception table, the books are available there. That has been published by our Kalgidhar Society, Badu Sahib. Colonel Saab will discuss with us regarding the holistic approach in Countryside De-Addiction Center, which is the biggest problem in our northern belt of the country. So, over to Colonel Saab, Dr. Jinder Singh.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. After listening to an overview in Punjab about addiction and the problem, this discussion will be confined to a village in Punjab. The findings which will be discussing, limiting our discussion to the village mainly. Holistic approach, my topic is holistic approach in a countryside de-addiction center. What is holistic approach? Holistic approach is mainly when we treat the individual as a whole, not in parts, which include the physical, psychological, social and spiritual aspects of the person. It's an entire strategy of management. The goal is to achieve the maximum well-being of the patient. Addiction in taking toll on the individual, psychology, the family, the society and the nation as a whole, I feel the addiction takes the greatest toll on the spirit and the soul of the person. The other day, I was reading in the newspaper, an alcoholic adolescent came back to home during midnight or even later than midnight, and it was written that he started molesting his own mother, and the mother and the daughter, they murdered the son. I mean, what more can happen in the mind of an individual? This is I feel this is the maximum degeneration that can be produced in an individual, and this can be done only by intoxicants and mostly alcohol and the drugs. No other illness can make an individual so degraded in his behavior. Drug addiction is a problem of overwhelming importance, and especially in Punjab. It impacts the individual, family and the society. It's an affliction of adolescent and childhood and adulthood primarily. It's prevalent in all sections of society and is much more common in the male gender and young girls and women than young girls and women, though the female gender is catching up fast, especially in the urban setting. It's a pervasive and intractable disorder. It's a chronic, pervasive and intractable disorder. Probably the reason behind this is the demotivation for treatment. Addiction is a disease of denial, said De Clementi, a thinker and a philosopher. He said that addiction, and especially alcoholism, is a disease of denial. Why the individual does not agree that he is suffering from an illness? There are so many defense mechanisms that are operating to develop this sort of attitude of denial, minimization, and other rationalization. This rush projection, for example, projection is a mechanism in which the individual does not find fault with himself. He projects for his own fault onto somebody else, to the society, to the family, to the brothers and relatives. Rationalization is finding false excuse. Some excuse are the other, which are not the reality. Distortion of perception is an important area which the individual's perception gets totally distorted, and he contradicts the information which is inconsistent with his belief. Leon Fostinger termed this behavior, distortion of perception, as the cognitive dissonance. It's a perceptual disorder in which the perception gets so much distorted that he is not able to see the reality. Probably some of the features may make one feel as if he has no insight into the problem. The defense mechanisms which are operating as if to make one understand a simple, for example, if an individual, you see, we take the one shoulder is a devil, the other is an angel, and the man or the ego himself is reality orientated. Whenever some gratification comes, whenever, for example, some drug is offered, if the desire is to get immediate gratification, it is probably the devil is operating. And if the personality of the person forbids the use of drugs, it is the angel. Again, minimization, rationalization, projection, and cognitive dissonance are predominantly operating in these individuals. The magnitude of the problem, especially in northern India, Punjab, Haryana, Chandigarh, and even Himachal Pradesh, the surveys reveal that the incidence of addiction and alcoholism is 2 to 3 times more common than the national figure. Perhaps few of the NGOs, they describe that alcoholism and addiction is probably maximum in Punjab. Not only in whole of India, perhaps Punjab and Haryana, they hold the record in the world. I mean, per capita consumption in alcohol. The illicit trafficking in Punjab, the latest figure, probably it's an individual, or now they say, we were reading this is the latest figure as projected in the media. About 60,000 crores of opium or opiates or narcotics are trafficked into the Punjab from the, as you have heard, from the Golden Crescent and the Golden Triangle. Punjab is sandwiched between these two maximum producing, you see, opiates, and these illegal drugs. They are coming from these two areas. Chandigarh, it's mentioned that 40 lakh bottles of whiskey are consumed in a month, and Amritsar consumes liquor worth 1 crore rupees a day. These are the figures. There are, which show that this part of the country is maximum factor. We opened a de-addiction center in Punjab in 2004. This is the And the first center which we opened was located in south of Punjab in the Malwa region. This you can see, a Chima in the village, district Sangrur. This village is the birthplace of Sant Atar Singh Ji Mastwana, whose whole of this, enterprise is the vision of this great sage. This is the birthplace where we established in 2004 this de-addiction center known as the Akal de-addiction center. This is uh, this is the Gurdwara, which is in the memory of that great saint, Gurdwara Janmasthan, Chima Sahib, and the center was started in 2004 in just a small room with no beds, nothing of the sort, only on the floor. This is the record, the demographics of the patients which were admitted. In 2004, there were only 70 patients. In again 2005, 6, 179. Then gradually 190. Then in 2007, 8, 300 patients. Similarly, the number of patients is increasing. This in 2008 and 9, 385 patients. Thereafter, in this, if we divide these 10 years, we have established this center in 2004 and we are completing a decade of functioning in a rural center. This is a transitional phase. The first 5 years are the transitional phase. Thereafter, in addition, the number of patients which we are receiving is almost settled around 300, 290, 300. When we go ahead, we will find and we will see that other demographic, you see, characteristics, they also are stabilized. In the first 5 years, they are changing. Sorry. This is the age-wise distribution of table. This is, you can see that below 20 years, the first on the top you can see, there are only 2 patients. And thereafter, the number of patients who are in the middle age, they are much more than the number of the patients who are less than, who are younger. This is the age-wise table which shows the second cohort of this decade, that's the later part of these 10 years. And we come to this conclusion that the year 2004, 21 to 30 years, there were 21%, 20% of the patients, which increased to 50%. And from 51 to 60 years, to start with, there were only 10%. And gradually, they decreased to 2% in 2008. There is a gradual increase in the number of young clients, and probably these differences in these two cohorts, the first 5 years and the second 5 years, they reflect some change which is happening in the society, which is happening around this center. The increase in number of young clients denotes that the parents and the family member prefer to bring the patients at an early age. This is the change which is being reflected from our demographic characteristics in the society, in the villages around. Then the age of onset of the table. This is very interesting. This we found only in the second cohort. Less than 10 years, 5%. This is the first onset of, you see, tasting drink or use of the substance, the first use of the substance. Less than 10 years, 5%. 10 to 15 years, 15%. And 15 to 20 years, 40%. It's a very amazingly high figure of 70% who have started the substance or the liquor in the teenagers below the age of 20 years, even before the teenagers. 10 years or less than 10 years, the teenage starts at 13 only. Before 13, I mean less than 10 years, 5% of the patients. And this finding is consistent with the background of the culture from which the patients are healing. The patients, for example, many of the patients, these patients which we interviewed, they gave the history. For example, one of the patients was saying that when I was a young child, my father took me into my lap and said, and he was holding a peg, and he said to him, Beta, in mithi kar de. Beta in mithi kar de means that make this drink sweeter by your sips. And the other father was telling me, as our psychologist Omkar Singh, he reported to me that he interviewed a patient at what age he started, and the father there he said कि बेटा ये ले तू बहादुर नहीं बनना. As if taking liquor is to make him bolder than what he is. तू बड़ा बहादुर बनना है, तू जरा सिप करके तो देख. I mean, this sort of cultural background, with this sort of culture, and whenever we go into the history of these patients, there is a history of family addiction. The father, the uncle, the tayas and the grandfather, they are almost all of them, many of them, they are taking drinks. And again, the model which they follow is nothing but the family and the environments. Regarding the education which we found, in year 2004-5, 72% of the patients were illiterates. And the I mean, when we interviewed one of the patient, I asked him, how much are you read? He said, nahi, bilkul nahi. I have not even handled a pen in my life. And the other said that I'm an angutha chap. I mean, this was a very astonishing finding for me in a village, that 72% of the patients did not know neither to read nor to write or simple arithmetic. They didn't know. 72% of the population to start with. But gradually, again, this is again a transitory phase. This is a transitional phase. As we go up in 2005, 2006, 7, the illiteracy has gone down to 28%. It's almost reversed. In 3-4 years, the illiteracy, this is reflected in our patients' admission. Illiteracy is reversed, and gradually the illiteracy is decreasing. In the second cohort, that the second group of 5 years, this is the comparatively stable pattern has settled, and this you can say illiteracy 72% in 2004, and it is after 3-4 years again 28%, and gradually in 2009 it is gradually the literacy is increasing and illiteracy is decreasing. Illiteracy rate is gradually decreasing and literacy rate is increasing. Illiteracy has come down to now 10%. And the bulk of the patients are educated up to matric R plus 2 in that village, which from where we get our catchment area as the village. A small percentage of graduates, postgraduates, and doctors and engineers, they get admission to our de-addiction center. Again, area rural wise in 2004, when we started, 94% of our clientage was from the rural area. And gradually, this clientage is decreasing, and we are getting more patients, urban and semi-urban areas. In 2004, 94% hailed from rural area. At present, a consistent pattern of 70% rural and 30% urban, semi-urban population. Patients come to us in this rural area from Punjab, Haryana, Himachal, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, and abroad from UK, America, and Australia and New Zealand. Again, marital status in the first cohort, you can say there were more married people to start with, and then as we, you see, come to the second cohort, it is being changed, and again a stable pattern. To start with, 94% of the cases were married to start with, and the percentage of unmarried is gradually increasing. The percentage of separated and divorced is only 2%. Probably now the unmarried, they wish to be treated for addiction before they enter into the marriage. This is a message which is conveyed to us what changes are taking place in the society. In the second cohort, almost consistent pattern has emerged. 65% are married and 30% are unmarried. Now the separated and divorced, they have increased in the last 6, 7 years. Probably this is due to the women empowerment program or the education being given to the patient. A small percentage of separated or divorced addicts, that is only 2% earlier, now it's 5%, reveals the forbearance and the fortitude of their spouses. It is the woman, as has been brought out by our, you see, chief guest, that he found in the villages the wives, the sisters, the mother, what condition they were crying. Exactly same figure. The divorce rate of addiction should be higher than what it is, what I suppose. Though India has the lowest divorce rate in the world, but still I feel that in addiction or in the addicts, the divorce is less because not due to the family circumstances, but due to the patience of the wife and the spouse, rather than the patient. And you see, such Indian women are known to be highly emotionally stable and very patient. This low divorce rate with the addiction reflects a change in the society and the community. Duration of addiction shows, again it is showing a transitional phase in the first cohort, because the duration is gradually, we are admitting cases with a longer duration to start with. To start with, patients came with a longer duration, and gradually when we come nearer the number of patients with the lesser duration of addiction, they increase. It only shows that the message conveyed from the society is that earlier the treatment started, the better it is. This is the change which is being affected in the society by the, you see, setting of a de-addiction center in a rural area. Less than 5 years, there were 30% cases. 5 to 10 years, 40%. More than 10 years, 30%. This is the finding in the second cohort, second group of our patients. Similarly, the type of drugs which we found to start with when we started the center, they were mainly crude opiates, that is, pookie, crushed opiates, and opium, synthetic drugs. And then gradually the change is taking place. The change is taking place, gradually, even at present, smack and heroin cases are increasingly being reported from the rural area. Earlier, it was a hierarchy. The smack and heroin was purely a urban phenomena. Bookie and opium, afim, was a rural phenomenon. Now, this heroin has become a rural phenomenon, probably because of the, you see, change in their status. The land owners, they are selling their land, and they have got lot of money. Now, the village, you see, is also turning to the urban set of addiction. Socio-economic status, which we, you see, found out through the land holding, what profession they do, and what are their income. And we found that in Malwa, about 30% of these patients, 33% of the patients did not have any land holding. They were working as daily wagers, petty businessmen, private jobs, government jobs. And a very small percentage had a large land holding, that is 11 acres to 20 acres. Now, earlier there was only, you see, new patients to start with. Now we are receiving older patients. We are having many patients who have relapsed and they are admitted. And we are having, for example, yesterday only a patient has been admitted, I was told, for the 18th time, a case of alcoholism. So they have got confidence, they have got faith in in the setting or the de-addiction center. Every time they go back, whenever they relapse, they come back to our de-addiction center. This topic now, which I will be discussing, this is the part of the holistic treatment. We are integrating the traditional treatment with the spiritual component in this rural de-addiction center. This rural de-addiction center, I must tell, this is one of the few centers in the state where detoxification facilities are available, and where we are incorporating spiritual element of therapy into the traditional treatment. Well, see, regarding this, we have a verse from the Holy Granth, It mad pite nanka bote khatiye bikar. This is by Mardana Slok, Sri Guru Granth Sahib, page 553, which translates that by drinking this wine, O Nanak, mortal earns multiple vices. Or, in other words, one can say, wine is the mother of many sins. Carl Jung has said that prevention and recovery of addiction involves spiritual themes, and he further stated that alcoholism and drug addiction were spiritual melodies. Similarly, William James, a very great psychologist, religion is one of the ways in which a man gains the gift of happiness. It often transforms the most intolerable misery into the profoundest and the most enduring happiness. Spiritual intelligence, the concept of spiritual intelligence was enunciated by Robert Ammon. He brings out evidence that based on psychology, neurology, anthropology, cognitive sciences, and for his theoretical postulate of spiritual intelligence, spiritual realization is said to be the goal of the human existence. And out of this spiritual quotient, it's the EQ lies between the two. The traditional quotient, that is IQ, and this spiritual quotient, EQ or the emotional quotient, lies between the two. EQ means how one behaves in the society emotionally, how he can control his own emotions or anger. SQ is concerned with the values, virtuous behavior, and the visionary revelation of an individual. SQ can transform a human being into a supreme being, whereas IQ and EQ, they are probably definitely secondary or third position. Benson had reviewed 40 studies and demonstrated that people with stronger religious commitments are less likely to be involved in substance abuse. Similarly, this is because self-help group book on Alcoholic Anonymous postulates that alcoholism is a spiritual problem and the remedy lies in following the 12 steps such as surrender, making a fearless moral self-inventory, and submission to the higher power. We conducted an experiment there to start with when we before the starting of this incorporation of spiritual element with the traditional treatment. We had started and compared the two groups. I remember when we started Dr. Manmohan Singh Atwal, he was the vice chancellor here who brought out this eternal university. And when we were discussing with Babaji that we want to integrate spiritual therapy with this, so I remember he pointed out that how can you do without any scientific evidence? Huh? So taking that clue from him, we did an experiment, and there was an experiment. We had to acquire two centers. One was Chima, the other was Chado. Chado was the control group. Experimental patients were admitted in Chima, where we were blending both these therapies, traditional therapy and the spiritual therapy. I mean, there was a spiritual teacher engaged, and his main job was to pursue a structured, program, making the patients to get up early in the morning, go in for prayers, meditation. He would keep them busy for more than 3 to 4, 5 hours. And the second group in Chado, which in which we gave the traditional treatment. I mean the medication, the other plays, carom board, cards, etc. I mean, we did not introduce the spiritual element there. There was no spiritual teacher in that control group. So we had analyzed the withdrawal features. There are more than 25 withdrawal features which we analyzed, and then we compared the withdrawal features abasion, or when did the withdrawal features abate in the experimental group and the control group. And we found, and analysis was helped by the psychologist who applied the chi-square statistical analysis. Chi-square he applied when I presented the data to him, and he after applying this chi-square he found out the p-values, and then we concluded there were some features, not that all the features were significantly different and preferred the spiritual element, blending of these elements. There were definitely many features which favored the blended therapy than with the traditional therapy. And this, the result we compared with the statistical analysis of chi-square. He applied p-values and showed the significant difference in favor of the center where therapies were blended. Variables which revealed differences were anxiety, restlessness, loss of appetite, tremors, and yawning. This is antidote to addiction. Role of physical exercise. We found that physical exercise definitely did help in the recovery or the improvement of these patients. And this was the concluded. Drug addiction and alcoholism is a widespread problem in northern India. Akal de-addiction center has become a popular destination for patients seeking treatment. More educated, younger, unmarried patients are reporting for admission. The center is attracting cases from the remote areas of Punjab, Haryana, Himachal, Delhi, Chandigarh, and abroad. The nature of addiction reveals a change from soft bookie to hard drugs as smag, injection morphine, alcohol, and injection heroin. And the latest case, which is injection heroin. This is again in the comparative study we found the cessation of withdrawal symptoms or earlier in the group where traditional and spiritual therapy was blended, and many of the variables p-value favored village Chima. Chima is the place where we conducted the experiment, where this was the traditional therapy and spiritual therapy blended. Weight gain patients also favored blended therapy. The observation may be validated by further study. This is just a pointer. We are not concluding scientifically. This is a very small study with a group which we compared was about 70, 60, 70 from each of these centers, and this needs to be validated with further studies. Thank you very much. This is what I have to say.
Thank you, Kanal Saab. Thank you very much. You have concluded within your time limit. So nice of you. Your address will pave way to understand strategies, and you have focused specifically on the ruralities of our country, and that's the demand of the day. So we'll care for that, and definitely with you to go ahead with this crusade.
Oh.
Your session was full of enthusiasm and valuable suggestions, and it was very much informative for us and the younger age group, the youths. Thank you very much. The next speaker, so we'll be taking the query session at the end. Next speaker will be Dr. Hardeep Singh, who is neuropsychiatrist and drug de-addiction cum rehabilitation center, sector 23, Chandigarh. Dr. Hardeep Singh will be taking up the subject of experience of a city-based de-addiction center and rehabilitation centers too. Over to Dr. Hardeep Singh.
Okay. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. I'm here. I work as a psychiatrist with Fortis Hospital, Mohali, and I also have a small 15-bedded psychiatry unit on my own. I passed out from PGI a couple of years back, and ever since I've been working with Fortis. I'm here on the invitation of Colonel Rajendra Singh. Thank you so much, sir. I thank the organizers for having invited me here, and it was around 7 years back that I came here last. I really congratulate the organization for having built up such a wonderful university on this campus. Last I came here, we had the school on one side, the guest house, and the dispensary on this side. If I'm wrong, kindly let me know. So that is the last trip that I had here. Thank you so much for having invited me here. I'm going to talk about my experiences so far. So when I say experiences, I'm going to talk strictly about experiences that we see on a day-to-day basis in our center that we have in Chandigarh. We all know that the magnitude of the problem of addiction is huge. When I say huge, it means you really need to ask whether out of these 10 youths that you have, how many of them are really on drugs and how many are not? And I would not be wrong in saying that maybe even 40 to 50% would say, yes, we are on, which is really, really worrisome. Thankfully, now that the governments of Punjab, they've started working, we are seeing results. There are certain contradictions also. We are finding that there is a gradual shift from hard to possibly softer drugs. So are we really talking in terms of de-addiction, or are we talking of shifting the drug of choice? I'll go from here. What are the common issues that we experience on a day-to-day basis? I've just made a list of these. I'll discuss them one by one. The first and the foremost is where to go for help, how to take the patient to a treatment facility, what if the patient does not cooperate, what if the families don't cooperate, what do they exactly, there are certain things which families, patients, they just don't want to understand. Why is a big question. And what do the families or patients want from us? So, talking of Chandigarh region, where do we go? There are the government setup, there is a private setup. But then in the private nowadays, we are finding there is actually something called as patient fishing going on. You have many of these shady centers coming up, which are there to grab patients. And believe me, situations there in those centers are not good. So when it comes to private, it has to be licensed or registered, and not just registered as a society or trust merely. You have to have adequate and qualified staff, which means a psychiatrist, psychologist, psychiatric social worker, and nursing staff. Strangely enough, none of the corporate hospitals, though I work in one of them, Fortis, which is one of the leading corporate houses in this country at the moment, they do not have a policy for mentally ill or de addiction patients. They don't admit such patients. And the reasons are because they have certain accreditation policies which they have to follow, and they are very stringent when it comes to mentally ill patients. Same goes for Max. There is another smaller hospital, though, but corporate now, Silver Oaks in Mohali, which also is now turning away patients in psychiatry. There is the place that I am running on my own called NDDRC in short. It's the full form is Neuropsychiatry and Drug De-Addiction Cum Rehabilitation Center. We started with this center in 2001. We got registered as a private psychiatry hospital under the Mental Health Act in 2003. And ever since, we have had an increasing inflow of number of patients. Then we have other centers, including NGOs and rehabs, which are doing that job. In the government sector in Chandigarh region, we have the biggest of them all is PGI Chandigarh, followed by Sector 32 Medical College. Then there is a multi-speciality hospital. We have one in Panchkula and Mohali as well. But out of these, PGI ranks the best. Of course, I'm being a passer from there. Not just that I'm giving it the highest marks, but also because they're offering the best qualities. In the private sector, like I said, well, there is no policy, so strangely, we are just left with one place. That is the one that I'm running at the moment. How to take the patient to a treatment facility? This is a very common question asked by families who contact me, and generally they pick up the phone and they call me and they say, how do we get him here? Doctor Sahab, tusi bande bhejoge? It is very embarrassing for me to take such a call because they expect that we'll send muscle men or maybe bouncers to their house to pick up that boy. And I often tell them, you cannot do such a thing. Until and unless your patient really wants to get well, you cannot do anything. You can take the horse to the water, but you cannot force the horse to drink. So, as it is, there is a big no by all proper setups, licensed or otherwise. But we do see a lot of these centers which are running at the peripheries. Most of them, strangely, they agree to send such muscle men. And believe me, there are instances when patients are literally kidnapped from their houses. They are beaten up blue and black, and then they're carried in those centers, kept there for months, for even up to years. I have an instance of a neighbor who stays quite close to my house. He's been in one of those centers for the last 2.5 years, which is no joke. And why 2.5 years? Because he does not have addiction. His problem is he has a dual diagnosis. That's an entity that those centers which are not properly adequately staffed, which don't have a psychiatrist with them, do not understand. Okay, when we say taking to a treatment facility, this means that we are doing some kind of an assessment whether there is a danger of self-harm by the patient or there is a risk of harm to others. That is an assessment which a psychiatrist is supposed to make. And rarely, yes, use of force is also needed, but then that force has to be left to the family. We are nobody to touch the patient. So, where do we get this help? family, relatives, their friends. Of course, we can always take help from police, who sometimes do come up. Thankfully, Chandigarh police is very well sensitized to the fact that there are mentally ill people. But I'm not very happy with the conditions in Punjab. There, they don't really help. And of course, the family doctor is there. A word from a family doctor at times plays, it's a trick that works. So, lastly is call an ambulance from a hospital which offers these kind of services. But then sending an ambulance at times only creates a ruckus, a social scene, and I've seen that happen. So once we've decided as to what kind of a treatment is needed, whether the person needs a treatment or not, then we have to decide the setting of the treatment, whether it has to be outpatient or inpatient. Now, when we talk of outpatient, obviously, the person comes to you on a daily or a weekly or a once in 2 weeks visit. This is economical. We are able to cater to a large number of patients, and the percentage of detoxified patients, however, is not reliably known. These are findings that we find in almost all centers. This is not just confined to my own, but this is what we find everywhere. The inpatient setting is costly, and believe me, running a premium center in this region, we've found that the cost can really go up because of the fact when you run such a center in the center of the city, all costs, all associated costs, they go up. The rents go up, your staff demands more, etc., etc. So we can only cater to a limited number of patients. And of course, the detoxification that we can carry out is 100% in these patients. Then comes the question of how long to keep. I've been trained in PGI, so there we used to keep for up to 6 weeks. Is that right, Dr. Ash? We are still keeping them for 6 weeks? So it is 4 to 6 weeks. Now, keeping the economics in mind as well, putting yourself in another person's shoe, one realizes that 3 weeks is probably the maximum that you can stretch in the private sector, where every day counts. So we follow the 3-week program, a module which is followed by almost all good hospitals everywhere in the world. Some places offer 3 months voluntary stay for rehabilitation. Once the patient comes out of detoxification, they keep the patient there on a voluntary basis. But then there are others in the region that we find are offering up to 6 months to 2-year quarantine. I would say we have to really understand the legalities of such a program. No sane person would offer to stay in a place for up to 2 years, even 6 months. I would say even 3 months is considered too long at times. And especially if you see the kind of barbaric treatment that can at times be delivered. So when a patient comes to us, first we find that the patient is cooperative or not. So we wait and observe for first 72 hours. If the patient wants to stay beyond 72 hours, we keep the patient. Because we understand that the first 72 hours, probably the patient is still intoxicated. He's not able to understand the implications of staying there. But most of the patients we find, they are able to understand the difference and make up their mind within the first 72 hours itself, whether they want to stay with us or they don't want to stay. The policy is very clear. If they don't want to stay, we discharge them. Like I said earlier, you can take the horse to the water. It is not the other way around. Interestingly, another thing that we've seen is sometimes the families do not cooperate. They start interfering with the treatment program. They defy those set rules which we have. See, when you carry out de-addiction, you have to have a very disciplined approach. So maintaining discipline is a key element. There are instances when we found family members carrying opium, carrying heroin inside the wards, and we've actually got it from them. So as a rule now, we search them before we let them inside the patient area, and we only allow those members of the family or those people, visitors who have come from within the four walls of the house, and not just any sympathizer of the patient to come in. Interestingly, some of the families they expect to have an update from the doctor twice a day. They will ask, Kiniya rotiyan khadiyan? Did he take bath? Did he do this? And all those things they have not been doing earlier. It is only once the patient comes in and they expect things to change from the first day itself, which is again something that we keep on telling them even before we admit the patients that see, this is not a miracle that we are going to deliver. This is a long journey. And what you've come here for, we are just going to lay the foundation of the whole program. It might take a longer period, maybe an year or two or even three or longer. Like Colonel Rajendra Singh said, there are certain patients who've come here for the 18th time recently. So that means this is a chronic relapsing disease. Relapses and remissions are part of it. We have to accept that. Then what we find is there are families who just don't want to understand. Even if you spend, say, an hour every week with them, the concept of addiction as a disease just does not settle down. World over, we have so much of data to support the fact it is a disease just like any other. Of course, a disease which has social ramifications, a disease which has biological issues attached, psychological issues attached, etc., etc. Importance of drug compliance is not understood. You have to take the medicine every day at a particular time without fail is just does not go in. Proper follow up is not understood. It is assumed that once the patient goes home, well, he's okay. We tell them this is not something like diarrhea or fever that you take a medicine for 5 days and once the fever settles down, you can stop it. But no, these are why I'm discussing these here are because these are the day to day experiences that we face there, the problems that we face. So, again, I'll say catering to a different niche of patients, if our patients demand confidentiality. They would not want me to even know at times their marital status, which is very strange and very complex because without knowing their marital status, I cannot assess as to what kind of support system they have at home. Then there are certain people who don't want to share with me as to what they do. They'll say, Doctor Sahab, tusi apna kaam karo. And believe me, we found later on, I've seen pictures of those patients in newspapers, magazines, and then I realized, oh God, this was the one. He is so and so person in society and he never wanted to share. So, confidentiality is a major issue with us. Then they want a comfort also. Comfort as if they are staying in a hotel. They talk of ambience, carpets, TV, how big the TV has to be. Last, I had a patient who was from a very, very affluent family. He wanted a 42 inches LED to be put in his room. I said, excuse me, you take the LED to your house, you watch it at your house, I cannot treat you. So I put a big, no outside my room. Then they want A-class food. There are instances when they'll just throw away food. No, SHG, this is not to my liking. I wanted continental food today. Now imagine you are here in a treatment setting. How can you cater to one patient, then cater another thing to another one? And lastly, I've underlined that. I don't know whether that's okay, visible on that screen. They want the whole thing to be economical as well. How can you do that? You want confidentiality, okay, fine, that doesn't cost. Comfort, the kind of comfort that they're looking at, the kind of food that they want. They would want to order from a Pizza Hut, they would want things to flow in unchecked, but we tell them no, this is not possible. So what we found out is we get them from a third party without disclosing as to from where this food comes because we've had an instance where the family checked up as to from where the food was coming. And they smuggled in a pack of cigarettes along with the food. So those are the kind of things that we face. Like I said, please check into a hotel. This is not a hotel. we are offering you hospitalization. These people are not bothered about the quality of treatment that you offer. They are there just to squander their money and then say that, okay, we took treatment. I'm sure all my colleagues here would agree with me when I say that some families treat their patients as war heroes, as if they've come from the Kargil war. They'll treat them when they're discharged, they're treated as if they've come back from Kargil. They will say, okay, beta, what do you want? You want so and so phone, we'll buy it for you. A car, we'll buy it for you. Just leave drugs and you don't need to come back here. That is again something that we tell them that, see, you cannot do this. Once you start pampering your patient like this, it is not a barter system going on. Had this worked, this would have worked at home. But this thing does not work. They want VIP status for their brats. When I use the word brats, believe me, they are brats, some of them. Because I am in Chandigarh. Chandigarh means the center of three states. You know, we have catchment area, we are catering to these three states, and all the spoiled brats, they are there. They want the best of everything. When I say best, it means the most expensive. They don't realize whether this is good for them or not. That is secondary for them. So families are scared at times. They don't even want to convey many of the things that should be conveyed to their patient on their own, and they would rather put the blame on me. The doctor is saying you need to do this. Doctor is saying you need to do that. They focus more on physical needs. ਇਹਦੀ ਜੀ ਕਮਰੇ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਨਾ ਲਾਈਟ ਬੜੀ ਘੱਟ ਹੈ as if the boy is there for some kind of a you know academic thing ਉਹ ਪੜ੍ਹਾਈ ਦੇ problem ਆ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ. Those are secondary issues. Even if there is a tube light going on, they will not be satisfied with that. Again, what do they want? They want us to brainwash them. They want us to dry clean the patient somehow. And very surprisingly, they'll ask her to start counseling the patient even when the patient is intoxicated. Imagine, how can you start with that? Withdrawals have to be over. Only then you move on to the phase 2. Then they seek guaranteed treatments. Now we tell them that in medical science there is nothing called a guarantee. You have a fracture, you are all the more prone for a second one. You have a myocardial infarction, you are more prone for the next one. So how can you expect a guarantee here? Guarantee lies with the family. Do they really take those take-home messages or not? Which invariably they do not. Now, despite instructions that de-addiction is a long process, like I said earlier, it takes on a minimum a year and a half for any patient to come out of it. Yet, what the families expect is magic. They've brought the child to me, they want him to be transformed overnight. Or to any psychiatrist. But this is the problem that we have, at least in my city. All said and done, when your patient gets well, it's an enriching experience, especially when you find that those compliant patients who are very regular with their medication, who are very regular with their follow-ups, they get well. Personally, I believe in total abstinence. I don't believe in shifting the patient from one drug to another. There are lots of controversial issues coming up, especially with buprenorphine, an opiate agonist coming into the picture, where we find that most of our colleagues, they are shifting the patients from heroin, opium, etc., all the opiates, onto buprenorphine, which is governed by the pharma industry more than anything else. I'm yet to see a person come out of buprenorphine on his own, because believe me, when you have withdrawal symptoms with heroin or from opium, they last about 7 to 10 days. And with buprenorphine, it can go up to even 4 to 6 weeks. Kindly correct me, sir, if I'm wrong. So, when you cannot sustain your motivation for those first 1 week, it is very difficult to sustain it for 6 weeks. As per protocol, my psychiatric social worker, who's been working with me for the last 14 years, she very dutifully calls up patients who miss their appointments. reminds them, motivates them to catch up with their treatment. I said we've started since 2003, so I tried to dig out some data as to the number of patients that we had. The green line is for opiates. Yeah, it's all mentioned in the legend there. You will see that as part of this, we saw the alcohol curve going up from 2008 till 2010 steeply. And then it started coming down. While the opiate group, which is consisting primarily of heroin or smack, it went up from 2009 to up to 2013. But from 2013, we are seeing a reduction in both. The last line is for cannabis, bhang, charas, ganja. So when I say that there is a decline in alcohol dependent patients after 2010, we wondered whether there is a shift towards opiates. But from 2013, we are finding that even the opioid dependent population seems to be going away from treatment. So what's happening? We find that they are moving on to other drugs or maybe buprenorphine, which is being offered freely. Interestingly, the number of patients in cannabis dependent population, they are also presenting for treatment more frequently now than what it was a couple of years back. Then we saw the age trends. These are only for the admitted patients. I did not have any data for the outpatient patients that we had because that data was immense, very difficult to manage when you're in the private sector. But for the IPD patients, we saw that the age trends showed that for alcoholics, the age bracket was 35 to 45 years, which is very consistent with what we see anywhere else in any other center. Opioid dependent population, which was reporting to us, was slightly older than what we see in other centers. This was 25 to 35. Though when I remember when we used to see outside, even in PGI, and there the age bracket of opioid dependent population was even lower. It was starting from 20. Then cannabis dependent population, this is a huge thing from 20 to 30. Rather, very lately we had a patient who was nearing 50 who was taking it. So, interestingly, most of the alcohol dependent and cannabis dependent population was from Himachal. They give the excuses cannabis is freely available. They give the excuse of cold weather, of having started it. But then, when you start questioning them, they do not understand the effects of cannabis on mind at all. They're little understood. It is taken just as a natural recreational drug. They assume that cannabis is not, you cannot get hooked on to cannabis. In fact, from what all I have seen over the years, I would say it is probably the worst thing you can take. Commonly termed as weed, marijuana, very fashionable names, pot, MJ, but then this is something which can actually, wreck your life. It can play havoc with your plans for the rest of your life. It affects your mind, it affects your logical thinking, it can even lead to major psychiatric illnesses. In cities like Chandigarh, we have both boys and girls abusing marijuana. Very unfortunately, it is taken to be very stylish. And like I said, they consider this to be non addictive, which is a myth. And that needs to be broken. To summarize, I would say, just as we all need to increase awareness about these drugs. One, addiction is a disease. We should not be stigmatizing it. We need to understand and to convey the effects of drugs on body and mind. Parents need to be made aware about the warning signs of drugs. Many a times we find that parents do not come forth for a long time. Though they've been noticing changes, they say, Pata hi nahi chala ji. Their son has been spending, say, an hour in the toilet. They don't even ask once as to why this is happening. They would find aluminium foils in the car or at home. They would not ask. Or they would settle for whatever excuses their child is giving. We need to understand and convey that help is available. and we also need to tell them as to where to go. I am sure people know all the bigger hospitals in every big city, at least they have now things are improving, so we have at least a psychiatrist in one of the bigger hospitals. They need to understand that treatment is more important than providing comforts to their patient. All those things that they start talking about. I fully agree with Colonel Rajendra Singh about the holistic approach. It is the need the hour. And finally, well, there is a shift from opiates or alcohol towards other drugs. But where is it leading us? I leave it for maybe some other occasion. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Deep Singh. Your discussion was very interesting, knowledgeable, and that was your live experience in your treatment center, and no doubt regarding the rehabilitation. Okay, thank you very much, sir. We'll be having just if 10 minutes this session for having some queries to be clarified. So let I recap it. Example, Dr. Ish Kumar Dalla, he took up the subject drug addiction in Punjab, an overview. Second, Colonel Saab Rajinder Singh ji, holistic approach in countryside addiction center. Thirdly, Dr. Hardeep Singh, experience of a city-based de-addiction center, rehabilitation center. So please come out with the respective queries. Whosoever wants to ask, please clarify the situation here. All the three speakers are with us. Yes, please. If nobody is there, say, let I clarify my queries. First is from there, Dr. Ish Kumar, sir. You see, I have seen in many situations, as per my experience in Madhya Pradesh, some addicts are having the habit of this taking up the burnt lizard and snakes and like this. In what category do we put that, and what is that known as? I don't know. छिपकली को जला के सिगरेट में डाल के पीते हैं, इसको क्या बोलेंगे हम? And how should we